Welcome to Plug Into the Maze, the 2019 Mastering the Maze Updates presentation. In this presentation, tips for writing a better IEP. Now, let's look at some ways to write a better IEP, present level of academic achievement and functional performance, or the PLAFP. We want to ask, what have we learned about the student's strengths and weaknesses? Look at the student's response to learning strategies, accommodations, interventions, and standards instruction. Ask, what is the student capable of doing now? Their present level, or baseline data, as it may be referred to. Ask yourself, what prerequisite skills does this student need to close the gap between his or her present level and the grade level content standard or the functional achievement expectation? In other words, what is the need that this student has? What is the skill or deficit that they have that prevents them from being able to obtain grade level standards? We need to consider all the data as we gather it and analyze it, and then write a statement. How does the student's disability affect performance in the general education curriculum? After we've written our present level, we want to move on to writing our measurable goal. What we want to do is we want to look at what is everyone else in the grade level that the student is in working. The best tools for looking at this is either using the Alabama Courses of Study or the curriculum guides and Alabama Extended Standards, and for a preschool child, the Alabama Developmental Preschool Standards. Using these, especially the curriculum guide, we can look at what the standards are for the grade level the child will be entering, and then look at what prerequisite skills are required that the student may not yet have mastered that is preventing them from achieving that grade level standard. After we've identified what skills the child needs, we're going to prioritize these skills to determine the one that will have the greatest impact for this student in closing the achievement gap. Or as I like to say, where are you going to get the biggest bang for your buck? Then we're going to write measurable goals, which include the audience, which is the student, the behavior or skill the student will be expected to master, the circumstance or the strategy under which this goal will be measured, the degree or criterion for the goal, how mastery of the goal will be evaluated, and the time frame during which the goal will be completed. We want to develop goals that answer the question, what skills does the child require to master the content of the curriculum, not what curriculum content does the student need to master. We want to look at what skills will have the most powerful impact. For access, remediation, we need to look at other factors such as the number of years this child has left in school. What might be most modifiable for the student, and what meets parent and student interest. We need to be sure that the measurable annual goals are related to meeting the student's needs. We should target the individual needs of the student resulting from their disability and how that disability affects his or her involvement and progress in the general education curriculum. Our measurable annual goals should describe what a student can reasonably be expected to accomplish within one school year. Our annual goals should focus on bridging the gap from where the student is, in other words, their baseline or present level, to where their student needs to be relative to identified Alabama Course of Study academic skills and the appropriate functional skills. Benchmarks are increments of learning which demonstrate progress towards the annual goal. Benchmarks are required for students on the alternate assessment. They relate directly to the goal. They provide a means to measure progress. And there must be a minimum of 2 benchmarks for each measurable annual goal. Once we move on to the services page, we need to write specially designed instruction and related services, if needed, for students with disabilities. Students with disabilities shall be provided special education in the least restrictive environment to enable students to be educated with their non-disabled peers. Specially designed instruction and supplementary aids and services may be provided in the regular class as appropriate, including related services, but also in the resource room and special class programs within the general education classroom. Specially designed instruction is what makes special education special. When we look at special education or specially designed instruction means adapting the content, methodology, and delivery of instruction for students with an IEP. Adapting means making changes matched to student need or condition. Content is the knowledge and skills that comprise the curriculum to be mastered. Methodology is the actions by the teacher intended to produce or facilitate learning, which includes the art and science of instruction. And delivery of instruction is the teaching that results in access to, participation in, and progress towards the curriculum for students with disabilities. How do we determine what specially designed instruction is necessary for the child? Specially designed instruction is based on the specific skills the student does not have, which are necessary for them to improve their academic performance, and is required to make progress towards master of the measurable annual goals. Remember, the specially designed instruction must have a direct connection to the present level of academic achievement and functional performance and the measurable annual goal. And all services and supports must be individualized to each student. So let's look at an example. Under specially designed instruction for special education reading, the special ed teacher will provide one-on-one or small group instruction on reading strategies used to make meaning from text. The special education teacher will implement an evidence-based reading intervention program to increase Sheila's reading comprehension. That's the specially designed instruction. We put how often will this occur, the amount of time, the beginning and ending duration dates. Now keep in mind, this may not be exactly of the implementation dates of the IEP for all goals. And then we need to have the location where the service will be provided. Looking at supplementary aids and services, this is information on accommodations and things that level the playing field for students with disabilities. Some examples might be utilize audiobooks, read aloud unknown words or phrases, screen reader, allow extended time, use graphic organizers, and of course many others. Again, we must have anticipated frequency of service. Amount of time is not required except for special education and related services, but beginning, ending, duration date, and location of services is required. For related services, again, You need to have what specially designed instruction for that related service is being provided, the anticipated frequency, the amount of time, beginning, ending, duration dates, and location of services. When we get to the signature page, the transfer of rights. This must be done beginning at the IEP that will be in effect when the student reaches the age of 18. You must put the date the student was informed that the rights under IDEA will transfer to him or her at the age of 19. Additionally, you want to record this date and then use this date in any subsequent IEPs that will occur after this. Also on the signature page, a common error found during monitoring is under does the student receive all special education services with non-disabled peers? If this is marked no, then you must explain why the student cannot receive these services within the general education classroom. So here's an example. Sheila receives some services in the resource room for reading intervention due to the need for a distraction-free environment and a quiet place for small group intensive instruction. Generally, there are 4 broad reasons why we would pull out a student from the regular classroom. 1, because they need an area that's free from distractions. They need a quiet place. Or social reasons. The student is embarrassed to have the teacher work with them in the general education setting. Or the class is strictly a special education class and not offered in the general education. An example of this might be a transition services class, which is only offered by the special education teacher in the resource class, or because of some behavior issue. This concludes our presentation of Plug into the Maze, the 2019 Mastering the Maze updates. We appreciate you taking the time to view our presentation. Should you need further assistance, please feel free to contact the Special Ed Services section at the Alabama State Department of Education. Our phone number is 334-694-4782.